Obesity-2.
I know I should have good unplug now. I'm gonna let it down for now. Can you pull it?
Yeah, I'll grab it.
Thank you. Not good. I'm not using a freaking mouse.
But you can always. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and there's no Monday and then Monday.
No, you should know. Kilograms, how to convert that, right?
The meters I
don't know. Yes, and also equal to or greater than 40 and equal to or greater than 5. No. The greater than, I would call that suitable standard.
Yeah.
You want to be less than
I would do.
It takes a while, but
That's true.
it's like maybe like 5
Skin test has 3%. Right, but if the person looks at their weight, they call a market barrier of 3%. Which is not like that was 100%. It's not that. It costs so much less. It's free in some places.
Half horse, half man. What roses?
Who's that horse, half man?
Talking about Italy, like half horse, half man. Strong accent. Strong accent, never hand. Some pasta carbonara.
Perfect.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah, it seems it has to be right. Got covered.
Dream day.
You want to make sure you assess bowel sounds. They're going to want to keep the NG tube in probably until those bowel sounds start or the patient starts passing gas. And you don't want to feed someone who does not have bowel sounds because it's just going to come right back up. Monitor the NG tube as ordered. If you have an order to flush it, you can flush it. You don't reposition it or anything after an abdominal surgery without the physician present. They should be the ones doing that if it's an abdominal surgery. Usually they're in PO for 3 days or until that peristalsis starts back up. Now we're doing a lot more of these surgery laparoscopically. So the patient, it's a shorter surgery, the patient's not under anesthesia as long. So usually it doesn't take as long for the stomach to wake back up and start peristalsis to begin. So it's a lot better. They don't stay in the hospital as long, they don't have to keep the NG tube as long, they can start eating a lot faster. But those are things that have to happen. Now, after a gastric bypass surgery or a lap band or any type of weight loss surgery, they are going to be on a very, very strict and restricted diet. So it will be like 10 cc's or 15 cc's of fluid, every 2 hours or something. I mean, it's like really, really restrictive. Not only what they eat, but how much. And then, of course, you're going to want to do good pain management for them. Okay, early postoperative complications. You can see DVTs, PEs, bleeding can be a complication. An anastomotic leak, so where they hook the 2 pieces together of the bowel or the GI system, you can form a leak around it. There can be cardiovascular or pulmonary compromise. Later complications, dumping syndrome, which is a huge one, and we will go into that a little bit more. Diarrhea, which can occur from dumping syndrome or just diarrhea. Dehydration, because they're not allowed to get much fluid. Or hypoglycemia. So hypoglycemia, because their food intake is really, really restricted. We talked about the deficiencies already. So let's go to B12 deficiency. What you're going to see. That happens because B12 is absorbed in the intestinal tract. Signs are pallor, fatigue, weight loss, a smooth, beefy red tongue. Do y'all know what a beefy red tongue looks like? It's swollen and it looks kind of like you would think red ground beef would look like. Slightly jaundiced sometimes, paresthesias in the hands and feet, and they can have gait or balance disturbances. Treatment, you give them B12 in the diet, but if they're not absorbing it, it's not going. If they've had an absorption, restrictive surgery, restricts absorption, then that's not going to help, so they're going to have to be on B12 shots. Sometimes they can absorb it from B12. I think they have sublingual B12 now also. Dumping syndrome. This is a really bad problem. Now, I will say with dumping syndrome, there are some suggestions for diet. There are also, I'm going to give you some suggestions for diet restrictions and things for a person who has had a gastric weight loss surgery. So the two have some contraindications, but just think of them as 2 different problems. Dumping syndrome is something that people have, but it's also very, very common after weight loss surgery. So it is when the gastric contents empty rapidly into the small intestines. It usually happens within 10 to 30 minutes after a meal, but it can be 1 to 3 hours depending on what type they have. Most often it's the 10 to 30 minutes after a meal. It can cause nausea, vomiting. It causes sweats, nervousness, anxiousness, diarrhea, palpitations, tachycardia, really bad abdominal pains, cramping. They get bloated, really loud, verborgamous. Y'all know what that means? Vowel sounds. That's those really loud ones, like you could stand over there and hear it from somebody standing here. Dizziness, weakness. It almost feels like hypoglycemia with a really bad stomach ache. And I think sometimes people think, oh man, I have food poisoning, but it comes on so quick that it can't be food poisoning. So, but then there can be dumping syndrome that happens between 1 and 3 hours, and that one you'll get symptoms of hunger and you'll see symptoms of hypoglycemia that occurs with that type. So patient education, they need to avoid sugar, salt, and milk. They're supposed to eat a high protein, high unsaturated fat, low carb diet. Small meals will help. Avoiding fluids during the meal will help. They also tell patients with gastric bypasses to avoid consuming fluid with their meals. Avoid very hot or very cold. To lie down after meals because it's kind of gravity helps it to stay in the stomach longer. And there are some antispasmodic meds that will help slow down the stomach. Yes?
Is this to prevent them from getting dumping syndrome, or do they do this
After they develop it, but these are ways to prevent the symptoms of it and it occurring. Yes?
If they lose them after they eat, do you think it acts as reflux? Or is it like benefit outweighs?
Right. You just have to pick it. And maybe not flat, elevate the head, but you don't want to be up moving around because that up moving around is going to increase peristalsis even more. Yes.
Just to that point, patients, gastric bypass patients don't get a lot of acid reflux.
Yeah.
Because of the way they leave out the stomach.
Right.
For those
Right. It can happen with the bands, but yeah, but would be more complicated surgeries. Thank you. And I'll tell you with the medications, they work for some people great, and some people it's like candy. It does nothing for them. After bariatric surgery, weight loss surgery, they're going to be told they need to be educated to avoid alcohol and carbonated drinks. Avoid foods high in calories, and this is where with the unsaturated foods, you encourage it in dumping syndrome, but it's not allowed in bariatric surgery. So that's the difference there. So you wouldn't allow it you would tell them not to do that if they had dumping syndrome from bariatric surgery. They would not eat the fatty foods. Avoid sugary foods and drinks. Eat slowly, chew well, take nutritional supplements. They need to do their vitamins as ordered. The diet is very strict and it's very specific, and they need to follow that very specifically. And then monitor for signs and symptoms of complications. Don't eat and drink at the same time. They need to drink at least 48 to 64 ounces of fluid a day to stay hydrated, but it has to be just sips at a time. They constantly have to be sipping fluid. Any questions? All right, we have 15 minutes. So I want y'all to just pair up real quick in groups of, 6, 8. This is a quick case study. All right, guys. I'm just looking at something because I gave mine away. No, you're fine. Y'all just need to share over there.
Do they not have one?
No, they
Oh, I'll just take a picture and then I can read it and they can.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. You're so smart.
Mr. B. Mr. B is 40. Miss B. Okay, I can't.
This would be the 42-year-old female.
Miss B is 42-year-old. I had a terrible start. Miss B, 42-year-old. Her height is 240 pounds. Initial symptoms. Over the past weekend, this baby increased as well as severe epigastric pain.
Yes.
Yeah, simply overeating. But the pain is present even though she likes to do it. For the past 24 hours, she has also been additional information. Upon questioning, Papa reports that she has had 7 fans, current fans, very high. She is happy with it because she has lost 42 pounds and her primary care physician is controlling her blood pressure. She states that she doesn't believe that symptoms are related to the gastric necessity because she doesn't feel good. She is allergic to it and states that the only reason she came to the ER is that her stomach hurts so much when she tries to eat. What investigation
Okay. Y'all read it?
Yeah. I have it neat. Great man. Great good. You guys so well. Makes it proud.
Okay, guys. Let's talk about this for a minute. It's a pretty simple case study. Person comes in with the ED. Everybody listen? What are the symptoms? Stomach pain. When? When she eats. Does it say how long she's had her gastric pain? 18 months. Okay. So that rules out a recent complications, not, a post-operative complication. Okay. So, is that her only symptom? Vomiting. Okay, so she has some tachycardia. What could the tachycardia be from? Pain. It could be from pain. What else? A fluid deficit, dehydration. What? It could be from her not able to take in enough fluid, or her throwing up, or what else?
Not being able to get rid of.
I'm sorry? What else could it be from? Yes?
She's really overweight.
Okay, she's overweight and out of shape, maybe. Is there anything else? She's coming in, she's complaining of severe pain in her abdomen. Could be an obstruction. Could she be bleeding? She could have had an obstruction. She could have perforated something. She could have a gastric bleed, right? Not necessarily, depends on how recent it occurred. Her body could be compensating now, and they end up dropping the pressure really quickly after they start to decompensate. Or it depends on how bad the bleed is. The first thing you're going to see is the heart rate go up. Okay, so what of these labs, what are you going to be looking at? What's going to tell you the biggest indicators of what your problem may be or may not be? You've got a CBC and you've got a WBC. Okay. Okay, so CBC for the bleeding, your white count for the infection. Okay, so your white count is slightly elevated at 11.6, and your complete metabolic panel is normal. Everything else on the CBC is normal. What can we pretty much rule out, or can we rule anything out? Okay, so a CT maybe we want to get. It also says you've got a upper GI series ordered. What are we going to be looking for with that? Yes?
Whether or not it's thrown into the stomach, or if it's too tight, or some other kind of obstruction as well.
Okay. Okay. And where it's empty, is it empty? What does that band look like? That's why they're going in there to see that. They want to see what the band looks like. So they go in and they do the upper GI series. We know there's some inflammation, infection, something, right? Because her white count is slightly elevated. Okay. So we can pretty much rule out a bleed, correct?
I apologize.
Is that can we pretty much rule out a bleed because her CBC is okay? All right. Okay, so we do the upper GI and it shows that she's emptying contrast around the band. So what does that mean? I'm sorry? Too tight? And it's eroded through. Okay, so kind of the same problem my friend had, but my friend waited a lot longer and was in a lot worse shape. So what are we going to have to do? Go in and take it out, right? You're going to have to remove it. Now, if you had this patient at this point, if it wasn't an emergent thing and she was stable, they would probably send the patient to the floor and plan the surgery. You don't want to do emergency surgeries if you don't have to, because you don't ever want to have an emergency surgery if you don't have to. Okay, if you can wait safely, you want to wait, because it's better to have doctors and surgeons that are fresh and prepared and ready to go. You don't want to take the guy that's been working all day and now he's on call and that's who's going to do your surgery. Okay, so you want to kind of do it during the daytime when it's supposed to be done, and you have all the people there that know what you're doing. Now, they can very well do it at night. It can be perfectly okay, or off hours. But if they can plan it and wait for that, it's always better to do that if it's safe for the patient. So we want to, if they send her to a floor to prepare, she's going to have surgery tomorrow. What would you anticipate the nursing care you're going to provide this patient?
With her anxiety, because it said that she really loves having the band, so if they have to remove it, she's going to need something for that, in addition to having to have kind of fairly emergent surgery.
Right. So anxiety.
Frequent monitoring, make sure that she doesn't, tank.
Decompensate, yes, absolutely. So frequent monitoring. We don't want her, decompensating and if she did, that would be something that would probably change the game plan. And, you know, there's that fine line between they're stable, let's wait and plan it, and they're stable, and now they're too unstable to do surgery. We have to stabilize them. So there's always that risk, but, you know, they have to wait. They can usually know what the big risk. And they look at the lab values, and they look at the vital signs, and they look at all that stuff, and they can pretty much tell what's going on with the patient. What else? What are some other things we're going to expect doing with the patient?
Do they make an APO then?
We want that patient MPO. We don't want anything leaking, anything more leaking, and we don't want it to mess up the ability to go to surgery. So it's probably even more important in this patient's case because we want them okay to go to surgery. What else? What kind of orders would you anticipate from the physician? Strict diagnose? Fluids. Probably some maintenance IV fluids. She's not eating or drinking, and she's already showing signs of a little bit of dehydration. So, what are her problems? Okay, so she may need an antiemetic. Pain medication, yes. So we may need, I don't know if she's having pain if she doesn't eat, but we need to have something there just in case, okay? And then, yes, like, I think one of the first things you said was that plan, like what is the reassuring the patient that there are other things that can be done, and we have to get you stable and healthy right now, and we'll discuss options of what can occur. You know, what can this patient do as far as bariatric surgery in the future? Yes.
That was kind of my question. So they're going to fix this problem and then later go back and do something different?
They may, if she's a candidate or if she chooses to, yes. That's usually they'll take that out. Usually, I guess it depends on the physician and it depends on how bad it's eroded through. But the ones I've heard of, they don't go back and put another band on. But there are a lot of other options, and they're getting new options every day. So, another thing, they will probably do some type of preventative DVT. So some like heparin or Lovenox, something preventative. This patient won't be up necessarily moving around as much as normal. Okay. Any questions?